Good evening, everyone. My name is Kelly Jessamy, and this is Brielle. Brielle is from Colombia, and she is currently the victim of forced displacement from Colombia due to armed conflict. She had to flee her neighborhood, her country, based upon extreme violence from a local militia and civilians and government in her area. She left with her husband, and he was actually disabled due to some of the violence that they experienced throughout their transition into our current area. So as a result, um, she's experiencing a lot of anxiety and depression and PTSD. So, Brielle, as I understand it, you've been feeling a sense of hopelessness and really uncertainty about where you're at and how secure your environment is, and also just about your role, your purpose at this point. Is that safe to say about how you're feeling? You've also pretty much just really engulfed yourself in work, home, and just your only sense of fun when we talked is alcohol. You like drinking wine to kind of, it puts you at ease and helps you to kind of relax and not, and be able to cope with some of your experiences from the past and the present. Um, so, what I want to talk to you a little bit about is first and foremost, you experienced a lot of trauma. You witnessed your friends and family members and loved ones go through sexual violence, physical violence. There was a sense of emotional violence that you abuse that you entail because you had to leave everything you know and love and was secure to you and come to an unfamiliar place and adapt. And essentially, the leader of your household, your husband, is now not able to provide. So you had to step into that role also. You're working at a job that you feel like there's a language barrier, you can't really relate to many people. So that, in a sense, is making you kind of feel as if you don't know what the next steps are for yourself. Um, so what I want to tell you is they have some local groups that you can participate in, where there's people who have similar stories, similar experiences, so that you can kind of establish a peer group of people that you can talk to about your experiences. We also need to identify some more healthy ways to deal with some of your anxiety, because sometimes we go to alcohol, or even some people go to drugs just to kind of cope with what they're going through. But what you're doing is like self-medicating. So it's almost like if you have something and you need an antibiotic, but you keep just taking Tylenol, hoping that the symptoms will, you're really treating the symptoms and not actually the problem itself. So we want to kind of get to the root of it. And I fully can understand how you may feel unsafe or insecure, because where you did feel safe, was kind of disrupted. But there are so many support groups and resources that you can use to kind of help you feel better. We also discussed that you don't know where your friends, some of your family members are, where they ended up, because everybody was they kind of fled in different directions. You don't know if they're alive. And this causes a lot of anxiety. And this could be why you have trouble sometimes sleeping and you go to alcohol for assistance. So there are some resources. They're government-based websites and groups that can really help you to identify and like where your friends and family members are. You can also put your name on the list, so that they can know where you are and how you're doing. I think it will also be helpful if we do something for your husband, if maybe some kind of family therapy, and get him involved in some groups, because if he may be experiencing some things emotionally also, because he sees the impact that this experience has had on you. You have to care for him, so you're essentially his caregiver, where based upon where you your culture, you were used to him being a caregiver. So I think it's important for us to empower him also and give him therapy and support, so that he can kind of adjust to this transition. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think that would be helpful.
Okay, good, good. Um, I also think there has been in Colombia some recent government changes, laws, and then also some kind of breakdown with some of the militia activity. So if you maybe can become, if you can kind of experience, we can do that together during therapy sessions. Just look up updates and get some more live information. You may be able to see some of the progress, so that that area you can kind of see how it's rebuilding, and how some of the violence and activity based upon that armed conflict has calmed a little bit, if that would be helpful also.
Definitely.
Um, this the unknown can sometimes, just keep going on in your brain. I mean, you kind of fill in blanks, but it would be helpful just to know exactly what's going on. Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate your participation, and I look forward to working with you in the future.
All right. Hi, I'm Brielle Hannafin, and our topic is forced displacement. Kelly is coming to me because even though she lives in the US, she just had her niece come and is living with her. Her niece, Maya, is 12, and she came from Somalia, where there is a lot of um, war, violence, poverty. So um, Kelly came to me because since coming back and living with Kelly, she's been concerned about Maya. The school has reported that she isolates, she doesn't really interact with other individuals. And um, recently there was a minor altercation that Maya started screaming, crying, and ran and hid, and she had to go home. Kelly had to leave work and come get her. So Kelly came in today because she is concerned about Maya, understandably. So, hi, Kelly.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Um, I'm really happy you came in. This is definitely a difficult and tough time, I can imagine. It's a huge adjustment for Maya, um, because she's now coming to a foreign place. Everything is just so unknown to her, but it also is an adjustment for you.
Hmm.
So I just wanted to talk a little bit about Maya and some of the symptoms that you've explained. It definitely is, it sounds like the trauma and the impact that when she was over in Somalia um, has carried over when she came to the US. So, as I'm sure you know, Somalia, there's a lot of violence there. Kids are often kidnapped. There's people on the streets fighting, killing each other. war going on all around. There's no main government, so they're fighting over that. Um, but it's also very low income. So with poverty comes, um, lack of water, lack of nutrition. A lot of times the kids don't get the education. Um, and on top of that, then either they're a direct victim of violence, whether it's physical or, mental, emotional, but they're also witnessing the violence.
Mhm.
So for Maya, she is coming over to the US where there's a lot of changes. There's, difference in language, culture. And for her, um, it's an adjustment. Think about it as if you were riding a roller coaster blindfolded and you don't know when it's going to turn, how fast it's going to go, what's going to happen next. So for her, she was living in a world where any second there could be, extreme violence. And so you're always living on edge. So it sounds like this altercation that you mentioned, that when she saw the violence or, these kids getting a little bit argumentative, it triggered some of the things that she had witnessed while she was in Somalia. Um, and then that also caused her to go in what's called a panic attack. Um, you had to leave the school because she couldn't calm down. She was crying, she was breathing fast, and just feeling very unsafe, which is very common for individuals who have a panic attack. And especially children who are displaced, it's common for them to internalize their problems, but also show behavioral issues, behavior disorders, mood disorders, especially mental health as far as anxiety and what's called post-traumatic stress disorder. So, really, what I wanted to talk to you about was just how this has made a huge impact on Maya. And, you know, for you to kind of understand, because even though we hear what is going on in Somalia, we're not exactly sure just yet what she has endured while over there. So
Mhm.
it's going to be a learning process for you, for Maya, and everyone involved. Um, she's only getting acclimated. But the good thing is you're here and you're seeking out resources. It sounds like the teachers are very attentive to her and have her in their best interest. And um,
Yeah,
there's
they've been amazing. They've been.
I'm glad to hear that. But there's also other resources out there for the both of you. There's support groups. You could even go to a support group with parents and kind of just talk about how it is, because it is an adjustment for you.
Yes, it has
Mm.
been.
You're going to be dealing with some flashbacks. You're going to be dealing with night terrors. She might start screaming in the middle of the night. um, you might see some other changes in her. She's coming here, she's got better nutrition, more water. So physically, she's going to be changing as well. She's going to be putting on a little bit more weight. Um, so just while you both are kind of going through the changes and the motions, having that extra support, I definitely would recommend. You can continue seeing me. We can even meet together with Maya, but certainly getting Maya in her own type of counseling for the trauma that she endured while over in Somalia, because it can be long lasting and affect her as she gets older. So we want to go ahead and address these issues now and help her get positive coping skills and work on the trauma and realize that she is in a safe place, um, before it could get worse. So If you have any other questions for me, feel free to contact me. I'm always here to help if there's anything that I can do.
I really appreciate your support and the resources that you're providing.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you.